Justin Jefferson, you kept mentioning it, like top tier, top tier, top tier. He stands kind of alone, one of ones. If you're drinking, we would call that top shelf. I mean, obviously, Devin and I don't drink. We do not partake. We are good angels and everything. But it got us thinking along the same lines and level of Justin Jefferson. Let's try to build a team like Devin's all-stars, if you will. Who would be on the same tier as Justin Jefferson when you go down the line? We'll start with quarterback. We'll get to running back. Like, we're going to go through the offense. And I think I know who you're going to pick for quarterback. If you don't, then we're going to fight. But let's start with top tier quarterback and Devin's team.
Quarterback's easy. It's Patrick Mahomes. And there's other guys who are really good at quarterback. I love Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Like, these guys are fantastic. But if you say top shelf, you say this is that one wine or that one tequila. I might have tasted tequila before, so like that would be something I picked. You say like this is the upper echelon. Like, if you're gonna drink the best, this is the best. Then to me, it's Patrick Mahomes. And if you go a tier down, that's still really good. Those are those other guys that you would throw in there. But if you say elite of the elite, to me, that's Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And right now, there's nobody else where he's at from that tier.
Agreed. Not even close. So we don't have to fight. Right. I'm really thankful for that you weren't even like going back and forth in your mind trying to figure it out. Like, he can win a Super Bowl on a bum ankle. Like, and it actually doesn't matter who else is playing with him because we're not going to remember. You know what I mean? We're just going to
exactly.
I don't know. Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. All the fans at home, that's all they're going to remember. That's it. And maybe Travis Kelce now. We're going to, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, we're going to remember. Running back. Who is your top tier upper echelon running back?
Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's the guy in Carolina. He was the offense. He goes to San Francisco, and I think the thought process was like, well, finally this guy will get a break because they have so much talent in San Francisco. He gets to San Francisco. The offense revolves around him still. Everyone talked about, well, is Kyle Shanahan going to give this guy a little bit of a break because of how many snaps he's playing, how many times he's getting the ball in the run game and the pass game? It's like, nope. He's still going to be the bell cow of this offense. So to me, this team in San Francisco to me is like one of those all-star teams. They have first team, second team, all pros everywhere, offense, defense. And when you usually look at this team and you say, hey, who's the guy? It's Christian McCaffrey. He's in that tier. He's alone. There's other great running backs. I love watching Saquon Barkley. I think his versatility, what he can do. I think he has a chance this year to go from the Giants and being their whole offense. And this Eagles offense that struggled last year, I think if he goes to the Eagles and right away this offense takes off, he has a great year, I think he starts to creep in that Christian McCaffrey category. But for me right now, being very selective and being, hey, this is top tier, Christian McCaffrey to me is that guy. When you play San Fran, you say, how do we stop CMC?
I was going to say, if we were talking about every single player in their prime and no injuries were accounted for, Nick Chubb, like you mentioned, Saquon Barkley, do some of them inch into the same tier as Christian McCaffrey or still one of ones?
No, I think they do. I think Nick Chubb definitely. I think Derrick Henry would have a chance if he continues, like even if he goes to Baltimore and takes off. I think the impact he had in Tennessee of what he was doing, Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback, A.J. Brown started to really come on as a young player. But overall, when I was in New England, we played against Tennessee, it was like strictly, if we don't stop this guy, we won't win. It was like, no matter what else we do in the whole game, if we don't stop this guy, I just don't think going into 24, Derrick Henry is viewed exactly the same as he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I played against him, whereas like Christian McCaffrey is still that guy. But I think Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley are two guys where I'm like, man, like you take away the injury, I think Nick Chubb would have had a great year again last year if he doesn't get hurt in that Cleveland offense. And I think, again, like I said about Saquon Barkley, I'm excited to see what he does in Philadelphia this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something about Georgia and running backs is interesting. Just works. Wide receiver. You gave us one in Justin Jefferson. You mentioned a couple others. Is there anyone else going on the top shelf?
Tyreek Hill. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill is the same way as Justin Jefferson. When you play against Miami, I don't care what else goes on, you better find a way to slow down Tyreek Hill, because at any moment he can have that breakout game, whether he was in Kansas City with the best quarterback in football and everybody was like, oh, he's tripping. You don't leave Patrick Mahomes. You don't find the generational quarterback for this era and leave. He goes to Miami and he flirts with 2,000 yards. You're like, what? Like, flirts with 2,000 yards, and you're sitting there at one point during the season, we're like, he's going to get 2,000 yards. Like, this is ridiculous, because week in and week out, same thing as Justin Jefferson. The whole defensive game plan is to stop you. And we look and we're like, how the hell do you have 250 yards receiving? How do you get to 195? That's what those guys, that's the impact they have that, to me, put Tyreek Hill in that same category. And that's no knock. A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, like all of those guys are phenomenal. I just think they're not even a full tier. They're just like a half a step below these two guys.
And it's like generational speed. Sometimes I'm like, we call him a wide receiver, but it's like it's something else. Like something else is happening on the field that we haven't seen before, which is how I feel sometimes about Patrick Mahomes. Like, I think he's playing basketball on the football field or something, but like the speed that it just looks different. Like, you're not playing the same position as everybody else. Like, your shelf is somewhere over there. It's still top tier, but I don't even know if you're a wide receiver. When I see Tyreek Hill play, that's how I feel sometimes.
Marie, I lined up against him. I was out there and I played against Randy Moss. I played against some guys, and Tyreek Hill did a couple things on the field. We had him double team one time. He runs, he breaks in on the post. And I mean, he takes off on me, runs inside. So I'm supposed to be the inside part of the double. I run. He put his foot in the ground and broke outside. By the time I turned around, he's 10 yards away from me. I just looked I looked for the help. Like, hey, you better get there, because I'm not getting there. It's impossible. Like, that dude is unreal, because it's quickness and speed, which most guys don't have the top of the top. God saw him and was like, hey, speed, empty the cup, quickness, empty the cup. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm happy not to play against him anymore.
Yeah. Adding Tyreek Hill to the reason why I get to call you rookie. Okay. I will take that. What about your top tier tight ends?
Tight ends, you mentioned it. And I know he's getting older. We didn't see the same Travis Kelce all year last year, but I was talking to my brother about this, and we both said the same thing. If I was playing a Super Bowl tomorrow and you said, pick your tight end, I'm picking Travis Kelce. And that, to me, shows the tier he's at when it matters the most. They get in the playoffs. The guy's unbelievable, whether it's you're going to play man-to-man, whether you're going to play zone. He understands what to do at the highest level and does it every time they need in a big game. And the only other guy I would put in the upper echelon is George Kittle. And the reason why I put Kittle in there is because, to me, Kittle's the guy right now at tight end. He blocks, he catches the ball. He not only catches it, once he catches it, he's hard to tackle. He breaks tackles, he scores. To me, Kittle is the best overall tight end. When you look and you say what you want out of a tight end, and I think Kittle's the guy that if we put him on another team other than San Francisco, who has weapons everywhere, he would get probably 20 to 21, 22 targets a game, probably 12 catches. He would always have career numbers because he would just be their best matchup on the field. We don't see that as much because San Fran has a lot of best matchups on the field. So, but I think his skill level, what he does, the energy he plays with, I would put him in that elite category, especially at the tight end position.
Okay, so Travis Kelce 1A, and then Kittle 1B.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway.
Like
okay, I just want to make sure that everyone knows where they stand. George, if you have issues, you can obviously at Devin McCourty. We will put his Twitter up if you have any questions or you want to send something. What about your offensive line?
Offensive line is where I'm limited. I'm not gonna lie to you. I text friends, I text coaches, and I
You're
text.
Like, Cris, what do you think?
Yeah, I text a couple people like defensive linemen, linebackers. I ask because I'm like, when I was on the field, I stayed away. I didn't want to be by any offensive lineman, and I picked two guys. I picked Trent Williams and I picked Zach Martin. Two guys, to me, I get it. They're older guys now. When we're on with Jason Garrett, he talks about drafting Zach Martin and Dallas. So that means when you were drafted there, when Jason Garrett was there, that was a while ago now. So that means he's getting older. Trent Williams was drafted, I think the year I was drafted or the year after. That means he's really old. So you look, but these guys are still the guys when they play against different players on defense. They're drawing up game plans. They're trying to figure out how we're going to beat these guys. What are we going to do to combat what they do well. So that to me puts you in a really elite category because guys have to prepare for you. When the broadcast starts, they're talking about how great you are, what you're able to do for the offense when you're on the field. We saw when Trent Williams wasn't on the field last year for San Fran. It was tougher on them. So I think those two guys are elite. I think the next wave of those guys will be like Penei Sewell. I think Laremy Tunsil's in that. My guy that I played with in New England, Joe Thuney. I think those guys, Creed Humphrey at the center position, are guys that are right there. But I think these two guys, because I mix it with having a dominant presence and longevity, doing it for a long time, being elite over and over and over again. And as you can see, other than Justin Jefferson on this list, these guys are older. These guys have done these things for a while now in NFL. I think that's what makes you elite. You have to do it. So there's some younger guys that you look and you're like, they're going to get to that level. But these guys, I think, are the guys that I would say, hey, any game I ever play, and you tell me I have to win one game, I want these guys on my football team.
So according to Devin's top tier dynasty, whatever we want to call it, the 49ers should be winning the Super Bowl because you've got 3 of them on this list.
And we talk about it all week. Like the 49ers are as talented as any team. It's a reason they played in the Super Bowl. They just, and I think sometimes we lose track of this, but if you go back to the Brady era with Peyton, like these different quarterbacks you look at in another sport, Michael Jordan, you look at LeBron James, Steph Curry, like these guys, when we look back at history, we're going to say they took a championship away, or they took championships away from really talented
really
teams,
good teams
just because of them. Like San Francisco, good football team, overtime, Kansas City Chiefs. The difference was Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes got the ball last. And we talked about it after the game. A lot of people talked about it. You probably don't want him to have the ball last, but he did. And you lost. And it's the same thing. I got to see it for 10 years. Playing on the football team with Tom Brady was unbelievable. We played in games as a defense. When we left the field, it was like, I can't believe we just lost this game for our team. And I remember young guys, and I'd be like, hold on, buddy. Don't you speak that into existence. That guy on the other side, Tom Brady, he's unbelievable. And I just think like San Francisco, this team might not win a championship strictly because they had to run in to Patrick Mahomes. Like twice in the Super Bowl, they've lost to Patrick Mahomes. And what ends up happening over time is the other teams in your conference start getting better. So Detroit, the Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, you got to start dealing with those teams that make things even tougher to get back to the Super Bowl and try to win it. So it'll be interesting to me going forward and watching how good San Francisco is as a team, but I don't think it takes away. Like we didn't even mention Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, who are two really good players. And we didn't even talk about defense, where they have some of the top guys on defense. Fred Warner's the best linebacker in football. Like it's ridiculous. So it's a really good football team.
Yeah. It's like in another world or just another decade, right? They could be the team of that decade, but because there's a Patrick Mahomes, it's almost impossible. And then you think about windows and how long they're open and how quickly they shut. Like the Kansas City Chiefs window will be open way longer because of Patrick Mahomes. And unfortunately, for all those skill positions, like how long we know that Christian McCaffrey, like he's durable and everything, but for how long can he produce at the same level, taking the beating that he constantly does, or Deebo Samuels, we've seen him deal with the injuries. And so like that window could shut and they never have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl, like you said. And so it's so interesting to see, like you said, the impact that Patrick Mahomes has on this entire league. Okay.
Think about how good some of those Chargers teams with Phillip Rivers, like 13-3, LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates. And then you look back and you're like, oh wow, yeah, they lost to the Patriots in the playoffs that year. They lost to the Colts. Like it is ridiculous, but like it doesn't take away. But like those teams were good, but they ran into some quarterbacks who were just aliens, basically.
Yeah. We'll do a documentary on the could have beens one day.
We can executive produce it.
Fault they weren't. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.